Hi everyone, my name is Po Yi and I am a third-year student in the dietetics program. I'm currently a member of the Student Association of Nutrition and Dietetics, and I'm also working with the Chinese Student and Scholar Association. I love working around food, and I've always been so passionate about food and nutrition. Ever since going into college, I've been meeting a lot of students and friends that have a lot of different ethnic backgrounds. So I wanted to learn about my own Chinese roots, and through that I learned it through food and nutrition. So today we're gonna make a dish that will pack some heat, some spice, and a lot of flavor. Okay, so the dish that I will be making today is called Szechuan Chicken, which in Chinese is called 辣子鸡, which is basically meaning spicy chicken. Now, I definitely love Chinese food. Chinese foods are like my comfort food because I ate Chinese food growing up. I used to live in Hong Kong, which is the very south part of Asia, where spicy food weren't very popular, but I've grown to love spicy food as I experimented with different types of ingredients. Now, Szechuan chicken came from the place Szechuan, which in Chinese called Sichuan. It's located in the south central side of Asia, which they are very known for their foods being spicy. So this dish is basically a spicy chicken stir fry that is made being very tasty, simple, and fast. So let's get started. Okay, so before we start our recipe, I'm gonna talk about the spices that we're gonna use today. So I have Szechuan peppercorns, the 5-spice powder, I have star anise, and then I have the dried red chilies. Okay, so to start it with the star anise, they are very sweet, and they do have a very caramely fragrance, like a burnt caramel. I love the shape of this. And then I have 5-spice powder here, and 5-spice powder is generally just 5 spices mixed together, and we call this the Chinese 5-spice. The 5-spice have star anise, cardamom, cinnamon, and also cloves and fennel seeds. Now, 5-spice is generally used to marinate and season a lot of our Chinese dish. Szechuan peppercorns are kind of like a type of pepper. It has the peppery smell similar to black pepper, but a little hotter, a little spicier. It does smell very fragrant. And then I also have the dried red peppers. They are very hot, so use according to how you can handle your spice. How you can actually make it spicier is actually breaking them apart when you use it, so you're releasing that flavor inside. Now that we have introduced everything, it's time to start our dish. Beforehand, I washed my hands, and I washed it for about 20 seconds with soap and hot water. Now, we're gonna start cutting our chicken. So, I have a very sharp knife with me. I use a knife sharpener ahead of time. This is just a easy standard knife sharpener that basically you would just grab the blade and you just slide through these slits, and then you would wash it with water to get rid of any metal residues. I sharpened them ahead of time so then there would be no metal residues on our chicken. Now, how to cut your chicken, or how to even hold a knife, is to grab it with your index finger and your thumb on the blade and the rest on your handle. Now curl your fingers and slide through it. Now the benefits with a sharp knife is that it would cut through really easily, so then you would reduce that risk of injuring yourself with any cuts or any other injuries. Okay, so it's a quick way to cut your chicken. So I cut it horizontally like this, and then now I'm gonna go back in and go through vertically. Oh, got a little slide. Okay. So that's that. So we have our chicken. Now I'm gonna grab this and put it into a bowl. So now that we are set with our chicken, we're gonna go on and marinate it. So we'll need soy sauce. We need about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. About 1 tablespoon of cooking wine. I have Szechuan wine. If you have maybe a sherry or any types of other types of cooking wine, it should be fine too. It's new. Okay, so we need 1 tablespoon of that. And then we're gonna use something called sesame oil. It's basically oil made from sesame. So we'll need about a teaspoon of that. Oh, over. Need a pinch of black pepper. I'm just gonna eyeball it. We don't need any salt because soy sauce has the salt already. All right, so we need 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. And finally, we need 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I love garlic. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we're gonna mix in our marinade, and we're gonna set this aside and work on our vegetables and our sauce. I like to use chopsticks. You can definitely use a spoon, a spatula, or even your hands. Just make sure you wash it afterwards. So I use my chopsticks and I just spread it around. Okay, so before cutting our vegetables and our other ingredients, I want to talk about cross-contamination. So I washed my hands right after cutting the chicken because chicken, which is raw poultry, may contain a bacteria called salmonella. Now, contamination with salmonella will cause sickness to your body, including fever, diarrhea, or even vomiting. So we want to make sure that everyone is practicing a good hygiene during this time, especially during the pandemic, so then we're reducing our risk of getting sick. So if you have an extra board or an extra knife, go ahead and use that. If not, just go ahead and wash your knife and wash your board with some soap and hot water. Okay, now to continue with our dish, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna mince some garlic and ginger. Now I've got some ready ahead, but to crack open the garlic, an easy trick is to apply pressure, and if you hear that crack, that means you can grab that outside coating and you can peel it right off. I generally don't like this part here, so I'm going to cut it off. And then we're going to smash it. So pushing your blade away from you, you're going to smash that. And you're going to go ahead and cut some slits. Curl your fingers in, and we're going to cut our garlic. Okay. So we're done with the garlic. Now with ginger. Ginger can be a little tricky, but there's also a quick trick if you want. You can use a fork and just do it this way, and that you can get grated ginger, or you can grate ginger using a grater. I love the flavor of ginger, so I'm just going to roughly mince it really quick. So I sliced thin slices, vertically and horizontally. So then they would become these really thin shreds. And then I'm just gonna cut through these really quick. Here we have about 1 tablespoon of ginger and a little bit of garlic. Okay, so up next we're gonna cut vegetables. Okay, so we're gonna continue on and cutting our vegetables. I have some red bell pepper, green bell pepper, and an onion. I cut some ahead of time, and they're in shape of julienne. All right. So to cut them in a julienne shape, I sliced it in half, and now we're gonna move that seed. So I'm gonna slide my knife along the edges. And we're gonna go around that stem. Be careful not to cut your fingers. And that would just remove everything. Now generally I just like to pat it a little bit just to remove the excess seed out of the way. And then take care of any of the little white parts that you don't like. Okay. So now we got our clean pepper. We're gonna slice them thinly. Make sure to curl your fingers in. And I also washed these vegetables ahead of time, so they're also clean on the outside. So here we have our peppers. And I'm gonna go and start with our onion. So same technique. We're just gonna take this out. And we're gonna run our knife along the sides just to get all those white inner parts out of the way. So now we have a beautiful clean pepper. And we're gonna just slice it through. Juices. Okay, so now we have our peppers. Okay, time to cut our onion, the crying bit. All right, so I like to cut my onion really quick because I'm a crier. So I'll slice both of these ends off. And I'm just gonna grab that outer layer and just get rid of that. Okay, so that's our garbage. Okay, so we're gonna slice this in half. Now I actually have a towel underneath this board, so it wouldn't shift as much. Okay, so after slicing it in half, we're gonna rotate that quarter-wise, and then I'm gonna curl my fingers in, and I'm just gonna cut this. And I can already feel that onion in my eyes. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut that really quick. A trick that my mom taught me is just to soak the onion in water. Okay, so I actually went and cried a little bit from the onion. Okay, so we have our onions cut and ready. So I'm just gonna transfer that onto a bowl for now. And we're gonna talk about the benefits of these vegetables. So we're gonna talk about the bell peppers. Bell peppers have quite a bit of good nutrition to it besides water. So bell peppers are, besides water, it contains some vitamins. Red pepper especially has vitamin A. Now both of these peppers also contains a good source of vitamin C and vitamin B9, which is called folate. So what's so important about folate? Now folate helps with the synthesis of our DNA, and it also just helps repairment of any impact of cell division. Now vitamin C, I love vitamin C because vitamin C plays a very important role in our life, which is making our skin pretty. So vitamin C helps the synthesis of collagen. Another thing with vitamin C is also to regenerate our antioxidants. One of the antioxidants, as you may all know, might be vitamin E. Now antioxidants are little workers that in our body, they just help fight off free radicals, and with that, excess free radicals in our body may cause certain degenerative diseases or even cancer. So having enough of these vegetables and maybe other vegetables with vitamin C is very important. Before we start stir frying, it's time to make our sauce. Now our sauce contains something called the oyster sauce. Oyster sauce is a special Chinese sauce that we use. It's a little savory, a little sweet. If you don't have it, that's okay. Just substitute it with a little bit more soy sauce and just maybe a little bit more water to even out that ratio. So I'm gonna add my 3 tablespoons of oyster sauce, my 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. I also have a baby whisk here because I love little things. Okay, and then I also have 1 tablespoon of cooking wine again, and I have Szechuan wine. Grab that. Just gonna mix that in really quick. Okay. So now we're gonna add our 1/3 of a cup of water. And now we're gonna add our spices. We're gonna add our Szechuan peppercorn and just let that flavor infused into it. Okay, and then we're gonna add our 5 spice powder. And we're gonna need about 1.5 teaspoon worth. So we're gonna grab a teaspoon. I'm just gonna measure that out really quick. Step, we're also gonna grab our oil. We're gonna need about 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. that in really quick. And then we're also gonna add some sugar because everything is really salty right now. So we're gonna go ahead and add about 2 tablespoons of sugar. Mix that in and combine. And lastly, we're gonna add our cornstarch. Now, cornstarch is an ingredient that helps thicken. So once it's react with water and heat, it's gonna thicken up really quick. So we're gonna grab our cornstarch and, oops, we're just gonna grab about 2 tablespoons. That should do the trick. Close that up because it's very dusty. Okay, so make sure you incorporate that really well. So by the time that you cook your chicken and your vegetables, the sugar and the cornstarch will be well incorporated into the sauce. Okay, and here we have our sauce. Smells really good. Okay, now I'm gonna clean everything up and we're gonna start cooking. Okay, time for the cooking part of it. Now I have all my ingredients set out and I also have my canola oil. I'm preheating my pan because I like my pan pretty hot when I cook. So cooking with a hotter pan reduce any risk of sticking. So now I'm just gonna wait for my pan. I have a large skillet right here. Generally I would use a wok, which is a Chinese traditional pan, which is a pan that's higher and a lot heavier, but that pan does not work with the induction heater, so I would be using a skillet today. So I have the pan pretty hot. I'm just hovering my hand over it, make sure it don't burn your hand. So I have canola oil here. I'm just gonna add a little bit because this is a non-stick pan. And I'm just gonna spread the oil around. Okay, firstly we're gonna add our ginger and our garlic. You can hear that sizzle right away. Okay. Okay, next we're gonna add our spices, the rest of our spices. We're gonna add some star anise and we're gonna add some peppers. Now, frying your peppers beforehand, it's gonna enhance the flavor, but be careful of try not to burn your peppers because that's gonna leave a burnt aftertaste. So we're just gonna cook that up really quick. Okay, that's pretty good. So now we're just gonna add our chicken. And we're gonna let this brown a little bit. So then I'm just gonna add my onions. I'm gonna add my peppers last because with any heat that goes to vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin D especially, it can be destroyed through heat or exposure to oxidation. So we're just gonna add that last. And make sure that we can just savor up that vitamins as much as possible. Okay, what I'm going to do now is lower the heat to about medium, and I'm going to go grab a cover and cover this to let it simmer for a little bit and let it brown. Okay, I'm gonna lift. Okay, I'm gonna put this cover aside. I'm gonna stir it up a little bit. Make sure nothing sticks. Okay, so before we add our sauce and our pepper in, I'm just gonna check the temperature of the chicken. So what you do is you turn on your thermometer, and I clean the head of it beforehand. Okay. So we're gonna stick it in a piece of chicken, preferably in the middle, and we're just gonna check if it's over 165 degrees. So it is at over 165 degrees, it's at 199 degrees. So we're good to go. Just gonna turn that off. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and add the rest of our peppers. And we're gonna let that cook a little bit before we add our sauce in. Okay, now that our peppers are pretty well incorporated, it's time to add in our sauce. Okay, so our sauce, I kept my little baby whisk in there because the cornstarch likes to stick and sink to the bottom. So I'm just going to mix that up really quick. And you want to stir it in pretty quick because it will thicken up really, really quick. So I'm just going to pour over. And we're going to mix that in. You can see it's starting to thicken and stick onto our veggies and our chicken. It smells really, really good. Okay, so we're pretty much done. So right now I'm just going to turn off the heat, and I'm going to let that remaining heat cook that sauce out. If you want, you can check the temperature again, but it should be fine. Let's see. Yep, so it's at 180 degrees. Just got a lot quieter too. All right, so now we're done with our dish. I have my pretty plate. And I'm just gonna transfer this onto a plate and make sure I don't spill anything because this is really good. So this recipe would serve about 8 people or 8 servings. And we're just gonna transfer that over. Now that I have my dish ready, I scooped up some rice because I cooked some rice ahead of time. I love eating this dish with the rice. So one of these serving of the Szechuan chicken holds about 22 grams of protein within the chicken breast. And with the rice that I cooked, which is the white rice short grained, it holds about 53 grams of carbohydrates per serving and about 5 grams of fat in this dish and a total of 175 calories per serving within this dish. So now that we're done with the whole cooking process, I'm just gonna go ahead and enjoy this by myself, and I hope everyone enjoyed this dish. Bye!